Morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. The physical delivery of wealth insurance, gold and silver. It is what we do, and well, let's just say we do it better than anybody. Modesty prevents me from saying any more. I'm joined, as always, with my partner in crime, the man that runs the Colorado Patriot office, Jason Walker. Jason, happy Thursday to you, buddy. What's happening on the Front Range?
Okay, well, I was just checking all kinds of things right to the moment that you introduced me. What I'd like to talk about just for a moment, Joe, as we're starting this, is officially welcoming 540 KYAH in Utah. They've been playing the Patriot Trading News Hour this week, and Joe was busy last week, and we've been busy here at the radio station this week. They're playing the full hour of the Colorado broadcast. Even though apparently our commercials are playing over there. So if you're listening in Utah, I want to welcome you to the Patriot Trading News Hour. Joe has been doing this show for many years. I joined up with him officially every day on the air last year. But, man, yeah, Utah, Joe, it's Utah's going to be listening.
Welcome to Utah. And, again, I think the realities are more and more people every day waking up to what's really happening out there. Of course, this show, we try to stay focused on what's going on financially. Obviously, you have to touch on some other topics as needed, but we do try to focus here on at least this hour on the physical, on the financial side of things, spiritually, and all of those other things. You have to get that on other shows. But I will say this, Jason, without a shadow of a doubt, the need to understand what is happening financially has never been greater. We had Europe, the ECB, out today raising interest rates by 0.75%. Again, so this is you see all these central banks, right, trying to act like, hey, we're in unison, we're doing this all together. Of course, Europe now officially out of 0% interest rates, so they're a little behind us. Not to be outdone, Jay Powell was out talking today as well. And I'll give you the shortened version. Jay Powell let Wall Street know, hey, come September 21st, get ready, Jason, for another 0.75 point on the interest rates. And of course, as we talked about yesterday, never, ever, ever has the central bank raised interest rates with an economy. And I know they don't want to admit that we're in a recession, but up until this recession here, the definition of recession was, hey, if you have 2 straight quarters of declining growth, that is considered recessionary. Of course, this time around, apparently it's different. But either way, Jason, this has never been done, never been seen. If you go out to All American Gold today, down towards the bottom of the page there, you'll see some commentary from the people at the Fox Business News talking about how they have no confidence in Jay Powell. The Federal Reserve lost all confidence with that transitory nonsense. And most of them are doing, man, I hope. And it's always dangerous when you hear I hope from these guys on TV because they live with these rose-colored glasses on. You know, they were the same people telling you not to worry about the housing subprime crisis, not to worry about the financial crisis, Jason, and they're all fingers crossed, hoping and praying that things don't get worse from here.
Right, you use the word hope. Hope is a word that is you're wanting somebody else to fix something because you have no control over it. Like you hope that your football team wins, right? But you don't really have control over that, Joe. And what Joe was talking about earlier, because I'm going to keep talking to the Utah audience here off and on as we got this new audience. AllAmericanGold.com. That is what Joe's talking about. That's the site where you can then click in after listening to this show and find a treasure trove of lots of economic information, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. That is our website. We've got our shopping cart out there as well, but it needs to become part of your daily routine because it really, and just people that listen to us forever know this, the vast majority of the articles that are on the website, we don't even get to. The show's only an hour, and really it's not even an hour with commercial breaks and all that. We've got a little over 40 minutes, and you just can't get to all the information in that time. So every day, allamericangold.com, and you'll see we got articles, videos, all the things you're going to need to know. Like I said, we're lucky if we cover one or two of those articles in any one show. A lot of times, Jason, we won't even cover any of the articles that are on that website.
That's exactly right. That's why you should go to allamericangold.com to look at what we're doing there. And, of course, you guys in Utah, so listen to the show because we're going to give you the phone number, 800-951-0592. That's where you can call to order the specials that we try to have daily. Some days we don't have a special, but we try to get something out there that's cheap and really cost effective. And just for the dynamics, Joe runs the home office of Patriot Trading out of Arizona. I'm here in Colorado helping run the radio station and the gold company here physically. And now you guys can listen to us and order from us there in Utah. So great to have 540 KYAH on board with us here at Patriots. We'll be right back.
800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe Jaquint, Jason Walker here on this Thursday. And Jason, more changes coming to your bank. A lot of you are probably, when I share this with you, a lot of you will be like, oh my gosh, that's actually just happened to me. We are going to a digital currency, plain and simple. The reason why has nothing to do with convenience or safety or any of the other nonsense that they're going to try to convince us as to why we have to have it. Really, Jason, it just boils down to the debt's not payable, and we need a reset. They've already set the table, and people need to understand this. Between the Patriot Act and Dodd-Frank, so many things changed in the banking industry. None of it good for you or me or any of us. They don't want you to have privacy. They don't want you to be dealing in cash. You know, there's things now, grandma can't go in and put $100 into their grandson's account because they're $100 cash in their grandson's account because they're not on the account. Remember third-party checks, right? Pay to the order of it. You can't do any of that stuff. I mean, there's so many things that have changed, but here's the latest now. The latest is when you are depositing a check of more than $1,000. So think about this. We've talked a lot about, $10,000, right? They kind of established this $10,000 thing during the Patriot Act. Now, all of a sudden, this newest piece, $1,000 check or more, the bank is going to start asking you. It's already started.
Yeah.
And, Jason, you know this because it happened to you the other day. They're going to ask you, hey, do you trust who gave you this check? Yep. Do you trust them? No, I don't trust. Matter of fact, I'm trying to put this check into my bank account so it will bounce and I can get charged bounce check fees. I mean, it's absolutely idiotic, but it really is. It signifies a bigger problem, Jason, because again now, people that are going into the bank, if you want to get $5,000 or $10,000 in cash withdrawn, the questions that you've got to answer, depositing cash into your bank account is problematic. When you're talking about a company like ours at Patriot Trading Group, we do a big cash business between our offices. We actually get charged to put money in the bank, cash into the bank. And now, Jason, they're starting to, well, do you trust these people that wrote you this check that you're putting into your bank account?
Yeah, though you call it idiotic, but if you're standing in the position of the government, the IRS, or the Fed, it's just numbers. So you ask what seems like a really dumb question. These banks have to say, okay, here comes a check that's over $1,000. Do you trust who wrote you this check? Do you like these people? And on its face, it seems like it's just kind of dumb. But they are hiring 87,000 new IRS agents the next few years. Catching whatever they want to catch or going after whoever they want to go after. They want to be able to put those targets, make them a smaller bullseye to get to. They would less flack and not waste less time. So just think about this. You get somebody that doesn't like their boss or whoever's giving them their checks. Somebody's like, yeah, I like the guy. He's giving me my money, but I really don't like that. I wish I could switch my job. And then suddenly you're just there by yourself. You're in the drive-thru at the bank. You're putting your check in there. Do you like this guy that gave you the check? Do you trust him? No, I don't like him at all. I mean, think about it. You get put on the list, Joe. You get put on the list, and now that small business or whoever wrote that check is now in the crosshairs of the IRS for these new regulations and things going on with the new financial system being set up. So yeah, that happened to me. I got my Patriot check, and I was put it in the bank, and they're like, "Do you trust Joe sending you this check from Arizona?" I'm like, I know not to go off on the bank. This is a system that I don't have control over, so I just go along with it. But I feel like saying it's none of your business. Shove that question where the sun don't shine. That's what I feel like saying, Joe.
And again, remember, these tellers, they're just doing what they're being told. The screen pops up, a message pops up. A lot of people that haven't experienced this before, and then all of a sudden they go into the bank and they're like, oh, I'm going to take out some cash here and see what happens. I'm going to test Joe out here, and then they're shocked by what happens, and especially if you're older, they'll ask you, is somebody forcing you to take this money out, right? That because let's face it, you're old and people are taking advantage of you. You really don't know how to take care of your money, and we're doing it to protect you, right? That's always these answers that you'll go, oh no, we're just trying to look out for you. And really what they're doing, to Jason's point, Jason, obviously that's the much scarier side. What happens if you say no? No, I don't trust them. I don't like them. That's a great point. I don't know what would happen.
I don't think anything happens to the depositor, Joe. I just think that these lists are always being made, and I think your employer suddenly is on a list.
I mean, could that all wait, you said no, we're going to put a hold on this check, right? We're going to wait to 10 or 20 days for you to have access. I don't know. To Jason's point, is the business that wrote the check, do they get put on some kind of list because somebody said no? But here's really one of the easier things. Listen, they want you going to the bank to be a bad experience. That's what they want. They want. Why are you asking me these questions? It's none of your business. I don't need to tell you what I'm doing with my money. And that's actually what they want. And let me tell you why I think that way. Because their solution is going to be, because they're going to make this thing so unpleasant and bombard you with so many questions. And then when it comes time for this digital money, why do I have the feeling, Jason? Well, see, with the digital currency, we won't have to ask those questions anymore.
Well, and there's a similar but not much more severe problem in China right now as they're trying to hide their banking emergency. They're going to have a huge banking emergency that's going to come from their property. Their housing industry is collapsing. They don't even have the banks don't even have the housing, the actual property to repossess and then resell it. It's going to be much more severe than what we had.
Listen, we've got banking emergencies in Japan, all in Europe, in the UK, this whole thing. And again, too big to fail. They didn't fix anything. Really, you know what they fixed? Hey, they fixed the fact that the government and the Federal Reserve fixed it. So, hey, we're not on the hook anymore.
And these
you guys didn't like us bailing them out. We're not bailing them out. And it's all going to be on the depositors. And believe me, these IRS agents, this didn't happen by accident. There's a reason why it got passed when it got passed. They're gearing up. These agents are going to be in place, and these agents are going to be the ones that are going to determine how much of your money are you going to be allowed to keep, Jason.
Right, and so in China, these people they're looking at their cell phone and they're being red lighted. If you get red lighted, that your card just got shut off. You have no digital money to use. If you have no cash, you're not purchasing anything. So what's happening with these banking problems is people are showing up by hundreds at these bank branches, and they put them in a line. Some of these lines, you don't even get to the front of the line by the end of the business day. So some of these Chinese people are sitting there, kind of like what is it, Black Friday, where they sit overnight to try to go get the big bargains on the Christmas specials. By the time they get to actually speak to a bank teller, Joe, guess what they're asking them? Same thing you just brought. The same kind of the same questions you just said that I got asked, but it's even more severe. They ask these very personal questions about their marriages and their children and all this crazy stuff to turn them back on. And what it is they're just slowing the amount of people that are taking withdrawals because they don't have it, Joe. So this stuff is coming. People just don't realize it, Joe.
Yeah, people are absolutely clueless to what the laws are, and it's amazing how gullible. And it's really, I don't blame the American public. It's not their fault, because when you turn on, listen, never in the history of the world have we had so much propaganda cheerleading debt. And what I mean by that, so I have DirecTV, okay, and I know I'm a fossil. Why are you doing that? You know, that's the old way of doing it. You should have all your apps and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I got DirecTV. Do you know how many channels I have that essentially cheerlead and celebrate debt? And I'm talking, CNBC, Fox, Bloomberg Asia. I literally from about 353, channel 353 to about channel 360 is nothing but debt cheerleaders, cheerleaders that give you the illusion, hey, listen, you can be a millionaire too. If you just buy into these debt markets, and of course we've got to put our 401ks in there, right? We have to do it because there's no other way. You can't afford to retire in this country any longer. But Jason, these mainstream media outlets, they just read off whatever the government told them to say. It's just like with Twitter and Facebook with COVID. What did we learn? Well, we learned that the CDC and the government told them, hey, block these things. Here, we're going to lie to you about the vaccines, and we want you to put it out there as facts, and this is what happens. And this is what has happened to the American public. They don't really even know that they're on the hook for all of this because they didn't fix the banking problem. Because remember what was the title? Too big to fail was the problem. And what they meant by that was these banks got so big and so interwoven. And by the way, and I know you guys love my history lessons, this was against the law all the way up until the late 90s. A lot of you out there, wherever you live, remember you had these these older regional type banks. For you here in the Valley, that was Valley National Bank. Remember Valley National Bank? They were like the big bank in Arizona. Well, they changed all the laws, allowed for all these mega banks, because let's face it, bankers are greedy, and they wanted, hey, we want to dominate the world. We want to sell credit cards to the Chinese and do all this other stuff. And created systemic risk, because it would have been one thing, we'll use Valley National as the example. If Valley National Bank had a problem and there was a run on the bank and they gave too many bad loans and the bank was going to go under, not a problem. The FDIC at the time could have handled that. And it wouldn't have caused problems for, say, Chase Bank or some other banks. There was no systemic risk. Well, when they rewrote the rules and allowed for all the mega banks, right? Think about this. In the 1980s, we had 18,000 banks. Now we have about 4,000 and change, and that number keeps falling every single year. We have less and less banks. But the problem now is we can't afford for any of these banks to go under, because remember, the FDIC, it's FDIC insured. The FDIC doesn't have any money. I mean, J.P. Morgan just by themselves has $3 trillion of insured deposits. The FDIC's got $130 billion in the bank. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, allamericangold.com. Joe and Jason here on this Thursday, and we're talking about banks, and we're talking about how is it that so many people are misinformed. And again, they control these media outlets, and it's something that most people don't want to acknowledge, but it is what it is. That's the realities. Remember, I think it was Nancy Pelosi, right? Well, we've got to pass the bill to see what's in the bill. I mean, I don't know what's in the bill until we pass the bill. Well, in regards to your money, between the Patriot Act and Dodd-Frank, the realities are what was in the bill, quite simply put, Jason, was, hey, guess what? We want and we are going to get a lot more control over your money. And again, we go back to Dodd-Frank, too big to fail. They didn't fix it, because obviously, what does that mean? Well, if they're too big, the answer must be, well, we should make them smaller. In other words, man, those laws you changed in the 90s, and that didn't work very good. That was a bad idea. And
it worked for some. It worked for some people, Joe. It did work for some.
Well, it only worked for a few, right? We know who it worked for, right? And eventually, right? So what they did was, hey, tell you what, we're going to fix it with this legislation. That actually, all as it did was shifted who's left holding the bag. And it shifted it to the depositors by saying bail-ins now. We're not going to bail out. The fact of the matter is the FDIC has nowhere close to the amount of money. We've got almost $19 trillion in deposits. They've got $130 billion. All right, the math doesn't work, but if you turn on those mainstream media channels, they were telling you, this is a great piece of legislation, and it was for Wall Street banks, right? It was probably for the people that were heavily involved in the debt markets, right, that we know we really can't support, and now we're left with this situation where every time we turn around, they're putting more and more, I'll just say, ridiculous policies on us as we go into our banks, what we can and what we can't do. And again, it's all in preparation. All of it is in preparation for when the bail-ins are going to come home. In other words, we're getting ready for this currency reset. And Jason, the problem is the average depositor is the one that's going to be left holding the bag.
Yeah, that's correct. So, and what Joe is telling you, I think very well, is that we are enslaved mentally, and we're enslaved economically through these stories. So, and let me give a really good example. A lot of people like to brag about their credit score. Man, look at my credit score. I'm an 800 guy, or I'm an upper 700s guy. You're bragging about your slave number. If you're a millionaire, you have $5 million in the bank, you don't care about a credit score. That doesn't affect you. What it used to be is, let's just take the gold company. I'm here in Colorado and Joe's there in Arizona. We see our customers come in. We meet them. The ladies in Arizona hear the phone calls and get to know you through your orders. That's the way banks used to be. So for an example of relationships that banks used to have, the building and loan, you heard that from It's a Wonderful Life. And there's that scene in the movie where George Bailey's dad had died, and so they're trying to figure out how are they going to scrap the building alone. It's going to go to Potter, the evil guy, right? And he's like, take for example this deadbeat who drives in this taxi. We didn't give him a loan. He wasn't credit worthy, but then he comes to you guys and you give him a loan. He's like, well, because I trust him. I know him. Well, now we got this credit score. They're going to tell you, well, you have to have a credit score because how does a bank or a car dealership, how do they know how much money to loan you? You got to have a number. You're credit worthy, and all it takes is one Yahoo to screw up your credit score. That they just don't like you. Some internet, clicking on a keyboard. That's a slave number. Yeah, we can brag about it. I can get bigger loans. I can get the lower interest rates, but they're telling you what you're allowed to do, not what you want to do, Joe. That's the whole difference. And people have been they've gone down the river on this storyline that your credit score is a big important thing. And now what are they doing? We got the G score and the social credit score, all these other ways of monitoring us and telling us this is what you're allowed to do and this is what you're not allowed to do. Answer the questions at the drive-thru. You just gave us $1,000, Joe.
Yeah, and of course they've come in and, let's be nicer on these credit scores for certain people. ESG scores,
yeah.
Those are coming next. That's going to replace the credit score. And again, this whole banking system, they're getting ready to use the next round of bailouts. They're going to determine, hey, if you're the right ethnicity or you're a part of the right gender qualification group, you're going to get more of your money. The people that are really going to get hurt in all of this, it's not the super rich, because they don't leave their money in the bank. They put them into treasuries, or they've got it in the market somehow. They're not leaving their money in the bank, but it's going to be the people that, hey, I've been doing it right. I know that I needed to save money. Social Security wasn't going to be enough, and I've had $100,000, $200,000 in my bank, and I've had it in there for years. I like it. I like to know I have comfort knowing that when I see my bank statement, it says $200,000 or $300,000. And by the way, if nothing else, never have more than $250,000 in any bank. And please remember this. They add up all your accounts. So, hey, I've only got $20,000 in my checking account, but I've got $250,000 in my savings account, and then, oh, by the way, I've got another $100,000 in a CD, all at the same bank. They're adding that all up as one. Never have more than $250,000 in total assets in any one bank. But Jason, what they're going to do, and this is why I think they got all these IRS agents at the ready, is they're going to say, hey, you know, Mr. Spuckatelli, man, you've had $200,000 in this bank for years. Obviously, you don't need it because you're not using it. It just sits here. We've got the bank's gone under, and we're using the bail-in policies. Tell you what we're going to do with that money. I'm going to explain it to you when we get back. Patriot Radio News Hour. Don't touch that dial. 800-951-0592. And I've done this show a bunch of times, and I do it more and more the closer we get, because you need to know what the law is. You need to know what they put into the Dodd-Frank bill, because what you think you know and what is actually in it are two very, very different things. So first of all, when the financial crisis happened the last time, and notice how I said the last time, because it's getting ready to happen again. Not only did they not fix what was wrong with the system, right? They actually doubled down and made it even worse. And what I mean by that, very simply put, is they didn't end too big to fail. What they did is said, hey, let's just put the depositors on the hook. And what they set this up for is anything over the 250. Okay, so remember, most people don't remember that before the financial crisis, FDIC insurance was only $100,000. And this is always a great trick of theirs. Hey, let's jump this to 250 because that'll make them feel safe. They want you to feel safe. Even though they know the debt money system and fiat money itself always goes to zero. So inherently, a fiat money system is never safe. It's just a matter of how long do you have. But neither here nor there. They want you to feel that it was safe. That makes sense. Everybody can understand that as to why. But here's how the law really reads. Hey, anything that you have over 250, you get nothing. Any other amount is going to be decided as to what you get to keep. And what I mean by that is, and this is just how it is written, hey, even if you have less than the 250, we can determine that you don't need access to all of that money all at once. So remember what I said about the FDIC. The FDIC, simply put, has $130 billion. So think about, I don't know, any of the top 3,000 banks. We only got 4,000 of them. All of them have deposits of more money than what the FDIC has. So obviously problematic. But the bigger problem is, as we learned in the financial crisis, if one goes, they all go. So just because, Wells Fargo went first, it doesn't save you because you were at U.S. Bank or Bank of America or Citi. They're all going. They're going to say to people, especially people that had a large amount of money in there, Mr. and Mrs. Schmuckatelli, you have $200,000. You know how long you've had $200,000 in this bank? We've gone back and looked. You've had $200,000 in here for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You never take it out. You never buy anything with it. They hate that. You're not putting it in and risking it in the debt markets. Well, since it's a bail-in, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you access, and they're going to pick a number. Let's just say, hey, you're going to get access to $25,000. That's what we've determined that you could have, because you really don't use the money anyway. Now, it was FDIC insured, right? So you only had, $200,000. Here's what we're going to do with the other $175,000. We're going to give you essentially a non-marketable security, which is essentially, think of it as shares in this new bank, whatever they come up with as the new bank. And at some point in the future, I don't know when, but we may come back to you later and tell you, hey, we got good news for you, Mr. or Mrs. Spacatelli. Hey, you know what? We think the bank is safe enough now that you can go ahead and you can sell your shares to get your money back at some point in the future. And not only that, Janet Yellen, Lael Brainerd, who's going to, by the way, she's going to be the next head of the Federal Reserve after Jay Powell, they've already let it be known that not only is that going to happen, so just think about it, right? You have this money in the bank, everything's crashed down, everything's on sale, yet they're going to prevent you from taking advantage and maybe buying a couple of properties or whatever it may be, because they're going to tie up your money in these non-marketable shares in these banks, in these new banks. But then they're also going to decide for everybody else, hey, listen, sorry, but we've got these debts, Jason, that got to get paid, and we don't have enough money left. So you know what? You're not even going to get $175,000. Anybody that's got more than $25,000, they may say, hey, anything above $25,000, anything above $10,000, anything above $1,000, we don't know what the number is going to be. You're only going to get X amount of your money unless you're of the right ethnicity. You can trace your roots back to maybe slavery, or you're part of a group that they feel has been discriminated against, or something like that, right, Jason? Kind of redistribution of wealth. It's very, very complicated and very, very sinister what the real rules are, and you need to know it so you can take care of you and your family. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Gold's down 8. Jay Powell letting everybody know, hey, we're going to go 3 quarters. 17.10. Silver's actually up again today, up another 15 cents here. $18.30. Wall Street right now, we'll see how it goes. It's up 100 points, but not a lot of conviction on Wall Street whatsoever today. The 10-year note rallying again. Get ready. 10-year note's going to go a lot higher. But you need to understand that. That's why we keep telling you got to have money in the bank. Listen, for all of you that have, hey, at the end of the month, you got a few $100 or $1,000, you're probably going to be okay. For those of you, hey, after I pay my bills, I really don't have any money. You're probably going to be okay. You're going to get your digital credits. But it's those people, and the problem is we don't even know what the dollar amount's going to be. Is it going to be $10,000? Is it going to be $5,000, $25,000? I think it all depends on how much money the bank needs to be bailed out. You remember, to be bailed in, to be more correct. Jason, this reset involves haircuts, and the first place that's going to be getting the haircuts is that money in the bank. Obviously, we know Wall Street, right? That money's already. When this has happened, remember during the financial crisis, right? Wall Street got hammered, right? It's going to get hammered as well. That money, that investment, it's going to get hammered as well. That's why you call my son Joey and make sure it doesn't get hammered. But that money in the bank, Jason, putting it into some gold and silver really makes a lot of sense.
That's right, Joe. And what you've been describing the last couple of segments about the $200,000 and having it held aside in any fashion, it doesn't matter if they give you less back. If they just give you the original money back in an inflative cycle that we're in, you're taking a haircut. Hey, we're going to hold this aside. And just like you said, Joe, in all the different ways they can keep you from getting to that $200,000. You get it back in 6 months or a year. How much did you just lose? Which is exactly why Joe just said you got to buy gold and silver, which keeps up with inflation and is outside their control. Physical gold and silver, Joe.
Yeah, U.S. $20 gold pieces. These are pre-1933 U.S. minted gold pieces. Very, very important. This is the most private way to own gold by the laws written by our government. They are considered collectible. You just don't have to pay these high collectible premiums. That's the thing about it. And why is that important? It's important because the last time the government confiscated gold, the only gold you could keep was coins that were deemed to be collectible. And obviously a lot of people have been talking about this Bretton Woods 3 digital currency thing, where it's going to be commodities-backed type, to try to differentiate it from fiat money, going back to gold standards are very possible. We don't know how it will shake out, but here's the other great thing about pre-33 U.S. minted gold. You can buy it, you can sell it, you can trade it. And we don't have to, especially when you're selling it and trading it, we don't have to ask you for your Social Security number. You don't have to worry about being 1099. You know, with these bullion products, you know, bars, Maple Leafs, Kruger Rands, all that stuff out there. Anything you sell back over $10,000 is an automatic 1099. And if we talk about gold prices at $5,000 or $10,000 an ounce, you're talking about selling back one or two coins. $20 gold, $2,050 today. 800-951-0592.